Welcome everybody to episode 12 of the Friends2Gether podcast. Does everybody know in the room what the Friends2Gether podcast is about, or would you like me to recap again?
Well, you might have somebody that's not familiar.
Listening.
Yeah, do it in Molly's voice.
Yes, I'll see if I can impersonate Molly. I can't go that high. So the Friends2Gether podcast is our intergenerational project, which is aimed at bringing 18 to 25-year-olds and 55 plus people together to skill share in group activities, and thus the podcast group was born to hit those endeavours. Hit those endeavours, would that be the right word? Or reach those endeavours? Achieve those endeavours.
Yeah.
To achieve those endeavours of bringing people together. So in the room, you might have heard there a little brief preview there, but in the room today, I'll go around anti-clockwise. We've got V with us today.
Good afternoon.
And we've got Sonia with us. All right, Sonia?
Hi, everyone.
And we have Phil with us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Happy Easter, everyone. So in a seamless link, I thought today we might want to talk about Easter, because one of my nephews asked me over the weekend, why do we give Easter eggs, and why is the Easter bunny, what's that got to do with Jesus coming back from the dead, basically being reborn? And I didn't actually know, so I googled it, and I thought I'd throw it out to you guys first before. If your nephew asked you that question, Phil, what would you say? Why do we give Easter eggs to each other?
I'm assuming the Easter eggs is rebirth. I'm assuming that's. But the Easter bunny, I'm no guess. Just because bunnies are first seen at that time of the year, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Spring, isn't it? Yeah. So V is busy Googling it now in case I ask her. So I asked
Siri.
No, better than that. Artificial intelligence.
AI.
Yeah, so the easy for me to say.
Yeah, I use that sometimes.
GPT, and it gave me a really good answer, so I'm going to tell you what it said.
I would have guessed it's to do with rebirth.
Rebirth, I'd have thought.
It's a spring, it's the new year.
Are you ready?
And as usual with all celebrations, they originate from pagan times.
Quite likely.
Correct, yeah. That's so... ChatGPT says, pagan origins. Eggs have long been a symbol of fertility and rebirth in many cultures, including ancient pagan celebrations of spring. As Christianity spread, it often incorporated existing traditions into its own holidays. In this case, the egg became the symbol of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, with the shell representing the tomb from which Jesus emerged. Number 2, Christian symbolism. In Christian tradition, Easter celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion. Eggs, being a symbol of new life, came to symbolise the new life offered through Christ's resurrection. Christians would often abstain from eating eggs during Lent, a 40-day period of fasting and penance leading up to Easter Sunday.
Yes.
So Easter Sunday became a day to break the fast and indulge in eggs again.
Get all the eggs you've been
often dyed or decorated to mark the occasion. The introduction of the Easter Bunny, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The Easter Bunny, as a symbol of Easter, is believed to have originated in Germany in the 16th century. The idea was that the bunny would bring eggs to children as gifts during the Easter season, much like Santa Claus would bring gifts at Christmas. The tradition of the Easter Bunny was brought to the United States by German immigrants in the 18th century and became wildly popular over time. In summary, the tradition of giving Easter eggs and associating them with the Easter Bunny is a blend of pagan and Christian symbolism, representing themes of fertility, rebirth and new life, associated with the arrival of spring and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. Well, lovely. Yeah, it's a nice combination, though.
Yeah, they do word things well, ChatGPT. I asked it because I like grunge music, and I asked, why is grunge music so good? And it gave this lovely, really long essay about it, and it was just brilliant, the way it worded it and everything, and it captured it perfectly.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that website before.
Where it's artificial intelligence, basically.
Oh,
it's I guess a robot or a computer, and it knows the whole internet, and it can summarise, instantly search and summarise stuff in its own
one
words.
of the things they start to get a bit antsy about, because they think it's artificial intelligence. It's the next step towards artificial intelligence.
That is artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well, how you define artificial intelligence, but yes, it's certainly getting towards it. Yeah.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. So did we all celebrate Easter today?
Sunday.
2 days ago, Sunday.
This weekend. Did we all celebrate Easter this weekend? How do we get it? To quaff lots of chocolate, everyone? And
it's not really the idea, but actually the Easter service for Christians is much more important than the Christmas.
Yeah.
because the whole idea of resurrection is the central part of the religion.
Yeah, I guess so.
Whereas Christmas is just a nice, you've got to have it, but it's not really part of the religion.
Yeah, Easter's the main.
I know growing up when I was very young, still at home with my parents, for my father, Easter was far more important than Christmas. He's from Eastern Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox,
Church. Yeah. So it's very, very much more important than.
I think the Greek Orthodox Church celebrated in another month's time, don't they? Because I'm obviously a Tottenham fan.
And Christmas is different. Actually, do you know? I mean, the reason they split was things like when you celebrate Easter.
Yeah.
Not that important. But no, it's really important.
I know Jehovah's Witnesses have an issue with it because of the pagan symbolism behind it. So they don't like to. Yeah. I don't know. They don't like to celebrate. They might be a bit strong, but they have issues with Easter being commercialised and to that degree. And I guess it has been commercialised, hasn't it, now with all the chocolate eggs?
Oh, God. There's nothing in the world they can't commercialise.
No. Do they do Easter cards? I guess they do.
Oh,
yes.
I send Easter cards. In fact, I prefer to send Easter cards than I do Christmas cards, because for me, Easter's like New Year, as far as I'm concerned. It's the start.
It's a nice time of the year,
of everything.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. I think because you've got the change in the time,
yes,
and it feels brighter in the air. You've got nature, everything's coming out.
Pollen. For those of our hay fever sufferers.
Well, there's always it's an ill wind that only blows good.
So there we go. That's Easter. Did any of us attend church over the Easter period?
So we went Maunday, Thursday. I think it's like a sort of rehash of the sort of Last Supper.
Yeah.
Friday, the Christian churches, and we saw them do it actually at the start of the walk, will tend to have a walk of witness, as they call it, where all the churches, Christian churches, whatever denomination, will take the cross from the altar and parade down a high street. So we saw them coming out from near the old Bagnall shop, and they were goodish procession, 3 or 4 different crosses from all the different churches.
Were the kids dressed up?
No, not that I saw. No, they're just...
I suppose what would
they dress up as out of interest?
Like at Christmas, you dress up like the 3 wise men and stuff, don't you? But I guess I don't know what they'd dress up. Yeah, bunnies and eggs and...
Some of them, they ring the bells, don't they?
They might ring the bells, yeah.
Sort of, very solemnly.
Yes, because Easter is
the
solemn.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yes.
The bells.
Yeah, they'll toll them rather than ring them.
Okay.
As it were.
Yeah.
That'd be on Good Friday.
But I didn't hear the bells ring out actually for Easter. Obviously, I'm not that near to any churches, I don't think. But I don't think they rang anything out. What time would they do it? Midday or
Easter? I don't know. Presumably with the service. I mean,
maybe
you don't have like a midnight mass like you do at Christmas, to my knowledge. But again, the Catholics might do different things. I'm not very au fait with what they do Easter. Yeah.
Well, I'd just say that my church is the outdoors, so
that's fine.
Spending time outdoors,
spiritual
with Mother Nature.
That's a nice thing to do.
I saw a theory the other day. God is water, because if you look at all the way it refers to God is in you and surrounding you and stuff like that, water is water, isn't it? And water's got an inherent life which you can't really explain, and it forms the basis of most things, isn't it? Like 90. What does it feel? 90. What's a human? What percentage of water is a human?
Vast bulk of what we are is water.
Water, yeah.
It's like universal soul for
water as well, and it's like said that God is water.
It's
quite a good theory, I think. Some people believe in.
Well, my own feeling is God is ineffable. It's so beyond our ken, by our ability to understand, that all you can do is grab like a little part of it, And that bit's true, but it doesn't mean to say you're understanding all of it, or that another religion might not have a bit that's equally as true.
Group conscious, I look at it like God is group conscious, isn't it? Like
yes, well, pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How people know stuff when they don't tell each other, but it's sort of...
Yeah, but that's all part of it.
You talked about before, wasn't there? I think, was it rats or something, where they hadn't taught the rat, I can't remember what the story was, but that they hadn't, the rats weren't together, but through social conscious, the rats kind of had this inherited behaviour, and they knew not to go to a certain thing.
That was
EJ. EJ or
yeah, but that's interesting. That's Lamarckianism as opposed to Darwinism, to say that you inherit the characteristics from your environment, rather than genetically.
Well, the group had passed on information.
Yes,
without
well, that's different. You can do
other.
that. You can certainly do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's what led me to think there's a group consciousness kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. We can't really talk about the meaning of life and God on here, can we? Because we'll be here for another 27 million weeks, wouldn't we? Really, offering. And as Phil said, we can't really comprehend. Our little brains aren't complex enough.
I do wonder, like, if you just asked 100 random people on the street, what is, just in general terms, the meaning of Easter, how many would have any clue as to...
Yeah, well, they'd say the resurrection of Christ or eating chocolate eggs.
If they said that would be enough, that's what you need to know. But, if they say, it's when the Cadbury's cream eggs come out, I'd say, well, that's... probably not.
I've never studied it.
But they're in the shops at Christmas.
Well, then that, I think that's an example of a climatic shift. They're coming earlier.
It's coming up to Christmas because there's Easter eggs in the shop.
Yeah, it's weird the way they're really ahead of themselves.
How well versed are we in the story of Easter then? Because I don't know a lot about it. I mean, even though I did go to a Church of England school, there's lots of details I don't know. I was looking up over the weekend and thinking I didn't know that about the incidents that led up to the death and it's straight after the death. I mean, how long was Jesus on the planet after he was resurrected and stuff? Was there
40 days.
40 days, yeah.
His ascension.
And what did he do what happened after the 40 days?
He ascended into heaven.
Did they? Okay. And what was he doing in those 40 days? Was he?
I think he was going around proving to everybody that he'd resurrected.
All right. So what can we do? Doubting Thomas? What about
exactly? Yes.
Who's that?
Doubting Thomas?
No, I've heard of the saying Doubting Thomas, but
no.
is that where it comes from? The disciple Thomas?
Yeah, because he didn't believe.
Wow.
And then Jesus put his hand out so he could actually feel the
cross, the nails,
where the nails went into his hand.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Sorry, it's making
and
my
what happened to the disciples then?
My neck. Pardon?
What happened to all the disciples? Did some of them get crucified as well?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah. Peter.
Most of them actually.
Sadly, was crucified upside down, which was just
Wow. One of the other questions I had as well, when they're having the Last Supper and Jesus said to them, within the day or within nightfall, you'll all denounce me or you'll pretend you don't know me, and they were all incredulous that they wouldn't. What was the story behind the people that when they got asked if they knew him, then were they getting arrested or something, or when they said they didn't know him, why they said they didn't know him?
It was
I know
Judas,
that bit. Yeah, Judas reported him to the Romans, didn't he?
Gethsemane.
Yeah, they were in the Garden of Gethsemane the night before.
Is that where the Last Supper was?
Yeah, and the Last Supper is where we get Mass from, because that's where he said to them, "This is my body, take this." And
in remembrance of me.
Yeah, in remembrance of me. And I actually find that quite a powerful thing, because through the ages, people have been criticised and... what's the word? Demonised. Sorry, that's probably not the right word.
No, it probably is the right word.
I think
for just doing that simple thing. And it's something that happens in lots of cultures, where you actually break bread with somebody, where you actually share a meal with somebody, and it becomes something even more important. I remember going to a church down in Dorset, near where the Chiddock martyrs were killed, because they were the wrong kind of Christian.
Yes.
And you go into the church.
That's terrible, isn't it?
So you go into the church and you walk in and you see all these portraits of these actually painted into the into the plaster of all the people that so truly believed this was the right way. They were prepared to die for it. And I find that a powerful thing. Although I don't go to Mass myself, the fact that ritual has persisted for so long, I find it quite a moving
So were they
thing.
Catholics or Protestants, the martyrs?
I can't remember which ones they were,
Doesn't
because
really
it depended
matter.
who was on the throne
who
at
was
the
in
time.
power at the time.
Isn't there
Yeah,
something...
I think they were Catholics, I believe. Yeah.
Phil, you might know this. Isn't there something at the church in Little Missenden that they found,
There is something there.
Something painted on the wall from a long, long, long time ago.
Well, they found some medieval paintings. Originally in the churches, like early medieval times, most peasants weren't... Sorry, I don't mean that in a nasty way, but that's what they were. That's what they called... The farmers were not literate. So they would have, and of course, the Bible that was all read in Latin, so it must have been hellishly boring, really.
Yeah.
So what they did was they painted lots of pictures on the wall of, scenes from the. So they have something.
For symbolism to represent the actual scenes, was it?
Yeah, well, it was figurative. If it was, the devil. Oh, there's some good ones. The devil poking the.
Yeah. What, in Little Missenden?
I don't know what's there. I've seen it in other churches. Probably quite likely because they like the things that were, fairly graphic.
It's quite spectacular, apparently.
Yeah,
Someone said to me, I've got to go and have it.
So, come the Puritans, they didn't like any pictorial stuff at all, but iconoclasts. They didn't like any pictorial representation of Christ or God. They thought that's bad. Yeah. So they whitewashed them all the walls. And then in sort of Victorian times or slightly after, they would just sort of clean them up and the whitewash would come up. And they suddenly found all these fantastic, I think what they've done at Little Missenden is actually cleaned them up.
Yeah.
There's nice ones in Chalfont St Giles. They've got something up in the church here, St Mary's, but I think that's more modern, where they've done
Because most Catholic churches you go to, they've got what they call the Stations of the Cross.
Right.
So, that's interesting. So about Stations of the Cross.
Well, sorry, this is going back.
No, that's very interesting.
I apologise to anybody who's a regular churchgoer, and please forgive my lack of memory. I can't remember how many there are. I think there's probably about 12 stations.
Like 12, isn't it?
Yeah, something about like that.
Yeah,
but basically, it depicts. They're normally paintings that are on the church wall around the actual building. That at certain times of the year, you actually go along and you actually pray in front of each of the stations as a reminder of what somebody actually.
The extent of the agony.
Yeah. Which again, I find.
And you meditate each time.
Yeah.
I find it quite a powerful thing. Yeah, so
these when the disciples were at the table, and
that's the Last Supper,
and he said, the Last Supper, and he said to them, "You're going to pretend you don't know who I am," basically, want a better word. So, what were the circumstances that led them to denounce that they knew who he was, not to denounce him, but that they didn't know and they denied? Can you remember?
Well, I think this is Peter.
Yeah. Okay.
He said, "No, Lord, I would never deny you."
Yeah.
And Jesus said, if I remember, pick me up on this, Sonia, before the cockerel closed 3 times, you denied me thrice, or something like that.
I was dreadful.
3 times.
Yeah. So the next day, they're in the Garden of Gethsemane, and the way it's told in the Bible, it varies a bit from gospel to gospel, I understand.
It depends on the translation, I suppose.
And that too, it's true. Because there's 4 gospels, and they're not all, there's 3 very similar, 1 different. It's quite interesting. St John's different. Anyway,
I've always been
Judas kissed him on the cheek to identify who he was.
Well, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the Romans marched him off. And then the soldiers went round and said, did you know him? Was he a friend of yours? And Peter said, no, he's nothing to do with me.
Well,
they said, are you sure? Because you were around at the time. No. You're absolutely certain. Yeah, no, I'm nothing to do with it. And then the cockerel crowed. Yeah.
Because he didn't want to get arrested, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do lose. If you're taken by surprise, I find that sometimes you think, oh, God, if I just thought about that beforehand. But when something happens to you and you're sort of in the middle of something else, you tend to a response perhaps you wouldn't have
I guess
made.
he thought I'd be better serving Jesus if I escape.
He might have thought that.
Yeah, if
he
I
might
escape.
have thought that.
It's important that I survive and tell the story, kind of thing. When you're in that desperate situation, I guess you would just try and survive, wouldn't you, kind of thing?
I'll tell you a story now. When I was at school, at primary school, I was very, very strongly influenced by these things like that, And one day, this is junior school, I was about 8, and I was having a bad day at school. The teacher, I don't know, I was getting. So I went to the toilet, those little cubicle toilets they had there.
Yeah.
And I sort of prayed to God for help to get through the day,
Please don't give me a recorder lesson.
Well, that sort of thing. It was something like that. It was something trivial, but it was important to me. And some other kid had managed to climb up over the cubicle and look down and say, "Oh, look at Phil, he's praying," And I said, "No, I'm not." And then I thought, "Oh my God, I've disavowed Christ. I've been going to hell now."
I'd be the least of my worries if someone's climbing over the top.
Well, I know.
Toilet, I'd be like,
I know.
Think away. Nothing like so bad as I told the story before now when I developed superhuman strength when the kids were trying to rip down my pants. And I
It's amazing what you've got in front of you.
Human strength to hold them up. Yeah, that good stuff. So whatever. So
that's St. Peter.
And then
denial of
Mary
Christ.
Magdalene and two other ladies went to the tomb to treat the body, didn't they? And then they found the stone was rolled open, and there was a figure in white or something. Is that an angel? Was it? Who was the figure in white that was inside the tomb? It didn't actually
That's right.
say.
There was,
I can't remember.
so the first, this is held up as a fact that the Christian faith is misogynistic. For the first people that discovered Christ had risen were female.
Yeah.
They went back to tell the disciples, and they said, "Don't be so silly. How could that have happened?"
Yeah.
I think they went toddled along there and saw it themselves. I think that's the story.
Also, symbolically, Mary Magdalene was the first of his disciples as well, wasn't he? So that obviously again shows importance to.
I'm not certain she's not normally reckoned to be a disciple.
I think maybe that's why she wasn't then, because they didn't
Yeah,
recognise women
something.
at that level. But
it's just the
importance
there's
of her
12
was played down,
disciples,
wasn't
aren't
it?
there? That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all male.
Can you name them all? I tried the other day.
Certainly can't.
Let me try. Peter. There's two Peters, wasn't there? There's big
Big
Peter.
James.
Peter.
There's two Jameses, and one was called Peter or something.
There's something like Jude the Lesser.
There's Big James and Little James, and there's Peter, John.
Well, we mentioned
Judas,
one, doubted.
Judas, Thomas as well, yeah.
There was a Philip, I think.
Is there an Isaiah as well? Isaiah?
A what?
Isaiah?
Messiah?
Isaiah. I-S.
Not certain about that.
What about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
Yeah,
There
you got four off there.
There you go.
Three freebies,
There you
four
go.
freebies there.
No? Didn't they teach you that in Scotland? What were the Scottish saints called?
No, I wouldn't.
Or the Scottish disciples?
I wasn't educated.
No, I don't. Shall I have a look? So let's educate our listeners if anyone's
on. Yes,
shouting at
It might be
the...
Bartholomew.
Let's have a look. It's bad, isn't it, that we don't know? But that's
I'm confused
why
'cause
we should look it up, you know?
I actually watched Ben-Hur on the Sunday.
So where's that set? Is that set in Palestine? Is it in the Holy Land?
Because he was, he actually, it's a long story, but when he was a galley slave, Ben-Hur, a man gave him water, and at the end of the film, where he's trying to carry his sister and take his mother to get cleansed of leprosy.
Yeah.
They've already taken Jesus away, and he's part of the trial going along with Pilate.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's walking past carrying the cross and he stumbles, Ben-Hur manages to get the water and actually give it to
I've seen
this
that,
man.
yeah. It's a good film,
And,
though.
yeah,
at the
and
end.
then
That's supposed to be
it was
Jesus,
him.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that.
Sorry, it's making all that
Yeah.
stand up.
They usually show that at Christmas, Ben. Easter.
Yes,
Ben.
it was. Yeah, it was.
Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. The Bible teaches us that the original apostles of Jesus were Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip,
Yes.
Judas, Matthew,
Yes.
another Thomas, James, the son of Alphaeus. That's how, I guess, how they differentiate between the two Jameses.
Yeah.
Bartholomew,
Bartholomew.
Judas. There's another Judas.
Two Judases.
Thaddeus,
one's Iscariot, isn't
Judas
it?
Iscariot and Judas Thaddeus, and Simon, another Simon, or Simon Zelotes. Zelotes.
Yeah.
There you go. Among those were fishermen during the time of calling, namely Peter, James, John, and Andrew. Boom. There we go.
Oh, interesting.
Easter. So there's everything else we've covered about Easter. So he came back for 40 days. Is that when he went into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, or was that a separate thing?
No,
That's
that was
different.
when he was actually alive at that point.
That's what the person that had come up with the idea that God was water also said, that if you look at all the references to when he was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, he was thirsty. He was looking for water, and there was no water around. So their theory also tied up with that as well. So then he ascended to heaven after that, and then had the others already been captured and arrested and stuff like that?
No. That was to give them the strength and the knowledge they needed to spread the word. And the 40 days Pentecost is the one of the things. It was at Pentecost or after, just before the fires of knowledge descended on their heads, and they're able to speak in any language of the world.
Okay, to translate the word.
Yeah.
There's a really good TV program in America. It's called The Chosen, and they basically it's a dramatic thing, but it's based on the Bible. It's really good. I think they're on the 4th season at the moment. It's a free app as well if you've got like an Apple TV or a Amazon Fire Stick, and all the first 3 seasons are all free on there now. So that's how I know a little bit about it.
Yes,
but they've only got to. I think John the Baptist is about to be.
That's fairly early on. Yeah,
curbed off in the next episode.
What's the name of the woman that demands his head?
Salome. Dance of the Seven Veils.
Dance of the Seven Veils. See, it's all stuff you think of in other contexts.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't realise Doubting Thomas was a biblical reference.
On a related subject, I've started to watch this Gunpowder. Have you seen that? The Netflix on the Guy Fawkes plot.
Oh, really? That sounds interesting. I love all the Guy Fawkes.
Oh, well, you'll like that.
Is it called?
But it's very well done. But my God, sorry. But really...
Not an Easter film.
No, I'm so sorry. But really, the amount of graphic detail they give on the torture... It's unnecessary. They have this great long scene of people being burnt and racked.
Yeah.
I mean, you can not even hint at it, just show it, but not linger on it for.
Is that the one where they tortured that woman by laying a stone on the ground and then put her over it and then put a door on the top of her?
It could be.
It was really shocking.
I can't tell you because I couldn't watch it.
Axed. Yeah, get axed on this.
Well, yeah, but I just couldn't watch it. Helen was saying that it was groaning and saying, "Oh, it's horrible." I said, "Don't just tell me when it's over." I couldn't.
Someone said to me once, "Think about it." With the saying "hung, drawn, and quartered."
Oh, yeah.
And I thought about it. I said, "What does it?" So I've never really given it much.
Did you look it up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, God, it's
very gruesome.
Beyond belief.
Hung, obviously, drawn. I don't know what's drawn.
No, when they're drawn, it means that they're actually taken down from the scaffold.
Okay.
When they're like half strangled.
Yeah.
And then they're cut open while they're still alive, and their entrails are taken out.
Sometimes.
And they cut them into quarters and then spread them to the farthest places in the
kingdom.
Yeah, in the kingdom.
Or the
as an example
of dissent. Don't be a dissenter, or this will happen to you.
It's unbelievable.
It's
horrible
shocking
cruelty.
what they used to do.
I wonder. The last one that was blimey.
Yes,
I'm thinking of. Does it?
A couple of 100 years it would have got better. Guy Fawkes was meant to, when he was hung, rather than being pushed, he actually jumped off so there'd be enough force to break his neck so he'd die cleanly, which was probably a very good idea if you can make yourself do it.
He needed Robin Hood to come along and ping him.
Yeah.
Cut him down.
Like the last of the Mohicans,
Yeah, there's a quite funny ITV programme as well, isn't there? The guy that does Bake Off. What's his bloody name? He was in Mighty Boosh.
I know the one you mean.
He's done a comedy thing of about Dick Turpin, basically. It's quite funny. I was watching it the other day, and he's about to be hung, and his mates come and shoot an arrow through the rope and save him. So it's quite a funny program.
Funnily enough, Life of Brian gets a lot of the stuff in, although it's obviously a Mickey take, and a lot of people are very offended by it. It's quite true to the story in some ways. I mean, not the funny bits, but the actual lineage, what happens. Yeah.
Did you see that John Cleese has refused to let them edit it? There's a certain scene.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, and he
well,
said,
I'm not surprised.
He said, "I'm not letting you edit it."
I'm not surprised. I mean, things like Little Britain from 10 years ago now, off the table. Yeah. I mean, again, on that Life of Brian, there's this scene where they're stoning people because they've said God's name, and then the priest who's supervising it can't say what they've done wrong, because if he does, he'll say God's name and they'll stone him. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not seen Life of Brian. I mean, everyone raves about it.
You really should.
It is very, very good. Although you do need the basic knowledge of religion to get the most out of it.
I've never seen Spinal Tap either. Everyone raves about Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap is... You would like Spinal Tap.
I didn't find it that funny, actually. I tried.
I
started it and I was like, it's a bit dated now. I thought.
It's very old.
By other things. We have another visitor in the room. Is that an ant or a spider?
I don't know.
It looks like an ant. Well,
I think it's an ant, isn't he? He's come to turn me into Spider-Man and he's going to bite me.
Yeah.
turn me into Spider-Man.
Don't you like insects? You not
Yeah,
happy?
I find with insects. I'm all right with spiders as well.
Imagine how he looks
That's all
to
I'm
you.
good at. That's
You
all I
looked
bring to in a relationship. I'm good at taking the bins out, making the bed, and catching spiders. That's all I can bring to the table, really. Cooking's not on the table, is it? There we go. So, is there anything we haven't covered about Easter? Is there any other important
Yes, I want to
traditions
just tell him what happened to me on Wednesday before Easter. Basically, for reasons I won't go into, we had a flat tyre on the car just beyond Tesco's in Amersham.
Oh, how annoying!
Pulled into a bus stop because that's
like
all
lay
there was.
by,
I had to lay by,
Yeah.
and it's pouring with rain.
It
was a horrible day, and I was getting a bit flustered, and I was trying to pump it up, and it wasn't taking. It was dead flat. What had happened was it got in a pothole, and so then this almost within about a few minutes, this car pulled up behind me, and this youngish female came out. She quite short, about I'd say 5 foot.
Yeah.
She had a uniform on, one of those. Like they have when they're looking after old people.
Okay,
uniforms,
yeah, nursing home.
She said, I saw what happened. I had the same thing happen to me. Don't stay out in the rain. Get back in the car. I know the person I phoned to replace the car. I will phone them for you if you're happy, if you want me to. Get them to come and, but don't get cold. I think she thought we were old biddies, which is fair enough.
Did you have your T-shirt on about being?
No, I didn't. I should have done. But I everything was going right. And that was so kind.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, she wasn't tall. You think, well, you're taking a bit of a risk when you draw up.
Approach people.
Yeah. Especially if you're female and you're not a big person, not a tall person.
Oh, there you go.
And then she phoned us back in about 10 minutes to say, has he turned up? That. So I got, because she'd phoned me, I knew her number. Yeah. In the evening, I phoned back and I said, look, that was a wonderful thing you did. If everyone did that, the world would be a better place. Can I give you some money or money towards your training?
Yeah.
She said no. I said, well, what about, can you name a charity? I'll give some money to a charity of your choice. She said yes. She said, I'm a Muslim and I'm very distressed by what's happening to the people in Gaza.
Yeah.
Can you give some money? I'll give you the website name.
Yeah.
I said, of course, that's great.
Yeah.
So I gave some money. And the funny thing was, on the website, they said, as well as what you want it for, so I said food and medicines. They said, will it be, these words, Z-A-K-A-T, Zakat, or Zadakukha. Anyway, these different, I thought, what are they sort of thing? So I looked them up, and they're different forms of Muslim giving. One is they have to give so much compulsorily.
Okay, yeah.
And one is but they get different things. So I learned all that.
Yeah.
But I thought if you want to make a point for your religion, you just do something like
nice
that
for somebody else.
And that wasn't that. That's going to make me feel really positive. And so I thought that was a great thing. It was a bit like, the parable of the Good Samaritan, wasn't it?
I was going to say, it brought tears to my eyes listening to you tell that story.
Yeah, I was touched.
What a lovely thing to do.
I was touched.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. You might cry again.
Yeah.
I helped someone carry a wardrobe the other day. I saw them come out of the charity shop. They're struggling on their own. This lady, I could see her kept putting it down because she was getting flustered because it was so heavy. I said, I'll give you a hand. Do you want me to give you a hand? And she's like, oh, really? She's like blown away. I was like, of course, yeah. I was like, I've just been lugging stuff up and down the high street myself, so I know how annoying it is when you have to keep putting stuff down. So it's between two of us, so it'll be easy. And she's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, come on, let's do it. And I carried it to her car and put it in there, and she asked where we worked and stuff like that. So,
So you made a connection.
Yeah, made a connection.
You were kind. Now she thinks more of humanity. Yeah. We really need to be doing that. And that's what I'm trying to do on the walks to some extent.
Lee, have you done any?
No, I think that's what keeps humanity going.
Isn't
when you have that connection with a stranger, especially a stranger. Yeah. And I think just showing kindness, even if it's a smile, is uplifting for everybody.
Yes. Quite agree.
It's bad, isn't it? Because sometimes also, I see people that stood at the bus stop if it's peeing down the rain, and I feel like offering them a lift, but you can't these days, can you? Cause
especially as a man.
As a man,
you can get away with it as a woman, but as a man, you really can't.
Can you? I feel it's a shame, isn't it, that you can't help people
I mean,
to that level, but you can understand why they wouldn't accept the lift and stuff like that.
Last time I had a lift, yes, a lady, she came. I was waiting at the bus stop and she gave me a lift.
That's
down
lovely.
to the
There are
town
people
centre.
that get around, aren't there, that just busk. Is it called busking? Or, no,
busking.
That's
Not.
really
There's a
plain
difference
music,
from
isn't it?
busking.
Hitchhiking. It's like
Hitchhiking,
thumbing a lift.
Not so much these. That used to be really common when I was small, young.
Yeah, just get around hitchhiking, don't they? It's
But it's
mad, isn't it?
deadly dangerous, really, isn't it?
Actually, I don't think they do it anymore, do they, anyway?
But yeah, I think we should. I think we should do those little acts of kindness. And sometimes people look at you like you're mad, but most times they're really.
Well, our friend Nikki that we were talking about earlier, they call it passing the seed on, don't they? If you do a nice deed for someone else, then you do a deed for someone else, and you pass the seed on. I think she called it in Christian terms.
I know the
spreading the
religious.
love.
I know in the Jewish religion they have a thing called a mitzvah, which is basically doing a good deed for somebody, and it makes you feel good when you help people out.
See, that's good. And one of those categories of the Muslim charitable giving was a kind deed or a smile. That's exactly what it said.
Yeah.
All these religions are coming to the same thing, and I wish people wouldn't get so wound up about the differences between them. Yeah,
so there are so many similarities.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely. Well, that's what Easter's all about, isn't it? Remembering those kind of the rebirth as well, that your spirit can always be redemption and reborn again, no matter what you've done, kind of thing.
exactly.
That was also an important lesson which we haven't touched on. When Jesus was on the cross, there was two criminals with him, wasn't there, as well? And one of them just said, I believe in you, and he took him into heaven. And the other one was a bit of a doubting Thomas, wasn't he?
Well, yeah.
And he didn't. Yeah. He said, well, if I'd have let you live, you might have gone down and told 100 people what a great guy this Jesus is. But because you showed 100% faith in me, you're coming straight to heaven. So it's not about deeds, it's about faith.
Yes, funnily enough, a lot of the early Christians were a bit annoyed by that.
Yeah.
There was a parable told, basically, look, that guy's been evil all his life, and he's just said that one nice thing and he's going to heaven.
Yeah.
So he told the story of the labourers in the vineyard. Do you remember that one in the sermon? He says an owner of a vineyard hires these people to work in his vineyard, and he hires them at the start of the day, he agrees a fair wage, and they work. And then he needs some more come the middle of the day. He hires them, agrees the same wage. They work. And then a few come along just before sunset, at the end of the day, hires them, same wage. So then they all get their money. And the people who started said, it's unfair. We've worked the whole of the day and we've only got the same money as the people who have... so that was like the person on the cross. Yeah. And he said, well, we agreed the terms at the start, and you will have, happiness because of the money. But now, because of someone else, you're, saying that was a bad thing. So that was, so there was some concern that,
it doesn't matter how late you are to the party, as long as you come to the party as well. That's
right. Yeah.
Very good. What's your favourites? What are the books? Different books, the different books of the Bible. What are they called books? Like the Matthew,
they are.
James.
But then there's the Gospel. There's the New Testament, the Old Testament, which is a very
the Old Testament's a hard read, isn't it? It's to do with Moses and all that, and the staff of what was it? A staff he made of. What was on the staff? It was snakes, wasn't it? A staff of snakes.
I don't know if I know that one. Was that Moses?
It was to do with they stuck this. Stake in the ground, and
there was a staff that burst into flames. That's Methuselah. That's a Greek legend.
Let me bring it up for you, and I'll tell you what I'm about. Staff of
Moses was the one that divided the Red Sea, so they could get through.
He was.
The staff is miraculously transformed into a snake, and then you weren't allowed to look at this snake. And the ones that looked at it would cast.
So who was that? Who did that?
Moses, the staff of Moses. The staff of Moses, also known as the rod of Moses or staff of God, is mentioned in the Bible and Quran as a walking stick used by Moses. According to the book of Exodus, the staff was used to produce water from a rock was transformed into a snake and back and was used at the parting of the Red Sea. So he had like a...
Oh!
I don't know.
Multi-purpose.
About either. There was a
Miraculous
staff that he made, and he had to carve this staff out when...
I'll have to have a word with my walking stick then.
Yeah, you will indeed. Yeah.
You've not been living up to your... Other walking sticks have done more than you. Yeah.
Yes. What's it called? Your thing? A farmer's staff? Is it? Would you call it?
It's a shepherd's crook.
A shepherd's crook.
It's a shepherd's crook.
There you go.
Which again is that's another. Actually, it's a very Christian symbol.
The shepherd's crook. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
very
a word,
important.
something that the bishops have.
They did.
They used to have a shepherd's crook because they were shepherds for the people.
Flock. Yeah.
For the flock.
I always like the thing about the one sheep that fled
That's
away
exactly
from the flock,
that's exactly. It's the same idea.
Yeah, you don't protect
The one
whole
sheep
flock,
that
you go.
wanders. Yeah.
When my friends said to me, "You should come to church," I said, "I'm quite happy doing I'm out there searching for the lost sheep in the flock. I don't really want to come and hang around with the flock, to be honest." Which they get quite angry and upset about. They say, "No, you need to come and get involved." And so now I'm quite happy helping the lost sheep in the flocks. Working on the outside. I'm like some bounty hunter out there, just trying to help the individuals rather than the group. Which is why I don't go to church, although I do believe and stuff. There we go.
And again, pagans also have staffs.
Do they?
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot of overlap.
Is that where they get the word staff from? Your
Staff?
staff. Your staff in an operation like.
I don't know. That's a very interesting point, though. Yes, I never thought of that.
Don't want to lower the tone of this or anything.
Well, I don't think that's possible, is it?
Or in a sad way. But my mother actually passed away on Good Friday. Not the Friday just gone,
No,
but
a
she
Good Friday,
she
yeah.
passed away actually on a Good
Sorry to
Friday.
hear that.
So I was with her when she had her Last Supper,
Yeah.
and it all became very kind of meaningful
Symbolic,
for me.
Yeah.
Huh.
And of course, you have to remember that Christmas falls on a different date every year. So, as far as I'm concerned, she's got two anniversaries: the
Yeah.
actual date and the day of Good Friday. But one thing I did come across was that there are 2 days in the year when the soul goes straight to heaven if somebody dies, and one's
Really?
Good Friday.
That's interesting.
And the other one is Christmas Eve, apparently.
Oh, I've never
And
heard
I just
that
thought,
before.
of all the people in the world, she was one of the ones that would actually deserve that.
Shortcut
Yeah.
to the top.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Does
So-
that taint Easter every year for you, the
Sadly,
sorrow,
yes.
or
Yeah.
does it sort of make you feel proud and sort of remember in a positive rebirth way and remind you of that story you just told us about her going
Well, she
straight
lives
to
on.
heaven?
She lives on through me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to think about it.
I try and do her. She was a retired hospital sister,
All right.
so I still try and do good deeds
Matron.
if I can.
Did you get the hair from her?
Pardon?
Is that curly hair
No,
from your
this is
mum?
from my father.
Is it?
My father had curly hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, Easter's always been a big thing for us in our house.
Yeah.
And because he used to do the proper Lent thing, wouldn't eat meat for 40 days and all that business. And I used to hate Pancake Day because I knew I'd go to bed hungry, because that was literally all we ever had for supper.
Yeah.
How do you mean? What did you normally have?
Well, instead of having like normal
So
food,
instead of having meat and two veg, you had two
that's
veg.
all we had was
Oh,
just
dear.
was just pancakes with either lemon and sugar, or my father used to like curd cheese,
Right.
and I just couldn't cope with it.
Well,
I think it's already well decided you want to give up, so you can't just impose it on someone
Well,
else.
here's a question for you. This being a podcast of questions being asked. I'll ask V this. Do you have any idea why we put lemon on pancakes? Why? What the
no, I
lemon
don't. I just thought it made
symbolises?
it taste nice. It shows how much I know.
Is there any symbolism to that, or is it just because it goes well with the mix? But if you had to hazard a guess, V, what would it be?
It's an acid, isn't it? So, I mean, because pancakes are made all over the world in some form.
But it's not the only time you have lemon with pancakes. You often do have lemons with pancakes.
Initially, lemons were not used for eating. The trees were grown decoratively, and the fruits were used for medicinal purposes. It is believed they're an excellent all-rounder to treat pain, constipation, digestive disorders,
I can
control
imagine that.
weight, and reduce risks of infection.
Yes.
Initial high demand by the rich lemon trees remained a luxury item in Britain for many years, even after Europe began widely cultivating them. It was at this stage in history that Eton College was founded under the reign of Henry VI in 1440. They had 3 terms known as halves: the Michaelmas half, the Lent half, and the summer half. I guess they're the terms, aren't they? Which became the terms. For much of its early history, all students to attend were picked specifically by the king himself and were known as the King's Scholars. Oh wow, so only people chosen by the king could go to school. Henry VI married a French woman, swore by the efficacy of lemons against all ills, and ensured that lemons were available to all pupils who studied there. Education was still expensive, and if he were to invest in teaching for those scholars, it was important to keep them alive. At the beginning of each half, lemons at the beginning of each term, lemons would be provided to the pupils with the advice that they should be eaten, all but the rind. Obviously, this was not to everyone's taste, and the pupils went to extreme lengths to make eating the lemons tolerable. They tried them whole, pulped, sliced and chopped, but whichever way you look at a lemon, it is bitter. They very quickly learned that the only improvement was to add sugar and hope for the best. So it happened that whatever the seasonal dish was at the start of each term, they would find a way to incorporate their seasonal medicine. In the summer, it was iced and cordial. In winter, candied on cakes. When the lemons were provided at the beginning of the Lent term, occasionally this fell over into Shrewsbury, and that's where this tradition was born.
Okay.
So the sugar was to make the lemon more palatable.
It's the other way around.
Wow.
It's not to make pancakes.
Can I ask again, what year was this?
Henry VIII. Henry VI.
Well, do you know what? I mean, we weren't able to grow lemons in this country at that point, surely.
But we would have imported.
Exactly, we'd have imported. And sugar as well was a very expensive commodity.
It's probably honey they used.
Yeah.
Initially. Yeah.
So I was just, refined sugar like we have today.
Yes,
although you can distill it from sugar beet. You can get it from...
I guess something sweet just to take the bitterness away. But yeah, there we go. So it was initially given to
fascinating
students.
Story.
Oh, how
But you might have tried to hold down the salmonella if the eggs were infected, I suppose. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So there was a reason behind that as well. Anything else you want to cover on Easter before we close off today's podcast? V, have you got any thoughts on Easter? Any questions that you've always wondered about the Easter eggs or the bunnies or traditions?
No, not really.
We've covered it all today, have we?
I know when I was younger, we used to paint. It was
paint eggs, yes.
Yeah, we used to paint them.
We used to do it at school, didn't we?
It's a big thing still in Poland and Ukraine.
Yeah.
I've got little wooden eggs that people give as gifts, where they've actually been hand painted, and you give them as.
I did actually read that why they do that yesterday, and I've forgotten already.
I mean, it's just so lovely to see lots of flowers about, all the colours, and the typical Easter colours, the yellows, the purple, the pale pastels.
Tis nice.
It just gives you joy.
Yeah. Rebirth. Easter. Completed it, mate.
Yeah.
Thus concludes another episode of the Friends Together podcast, episode 12. Completed it, the Easter episode. If any listeners have any questions that you don't think we've answered on Easter, or if you've got any burning desires that you've always wanted to ask, or you can't be bothered to Google, send out a question in and we'll get around to it on another podcast. But thank you for your patience today whilst I stumbled through my questions about Easter, which you guys have answered very well, and I'm now a bit more educated.
They're probably not very accurate.
Yes, it gives me a starting point.
I'm a bit worried about Phil. We haven't covered the other religions are invadable, like Passover, which would be.
Well, yeah. What do the other religions mark Easter specifically or not?
Well, Passover is done at the same time.
In fact, Easter's dependent on the moon being seen. That's why it changes every year.
And is that the same as Eid as well? Like, is that to do?
Well,
with
that's
Passover?
the end of Ramadan,
right.
But I don't think that's synced. This Ramadan is ongoing as we speak.
Well, that's also to do with fasting and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it is. So. Well, that is very extreme. They have no food or water.
Or you're allowed chewing gum or anything.
No, I don't think so.
No, not.
In the daylight, so that if it's in the middle of summer, that can be really
brutal. I mean, some of the Asian players I used to play for my football and cricket teams. I used to feel bad, like on a hot summer's day, like when they'd split for drinks in cricket and stuff.
That's asked a lot of people. Yeah,
they wouldn't take on any fluids, and I used to feel bad, so I just didn't used to drink. I thought it was rude, isn't it, to drink in front of people that are fasting? So,
however, we did not touch on the word actual Easter.
Come on, hit us with it.
Yeah, go for it.
V, what have you
It
got?
is primarily a female name of English origin that means goddess of fertility, spring. From
Isn't
the
that
Old
so?
English
That's nothing to
estre,
do with Christianity.
from the German word Ostern and est, east. Possibly a derivative of Eastre, the goddess of spring. So
well,
again,
there
we're
you go.
coming back to our
Rebirth.
our pagan
pagan
roots,
and-
our
yeah.
roots,
pagan
which
roots.
again, you're looking at the 21st of March, although Easter is a bit early
Yes,
today.
the
Equinox.
famous movable feast. Yes,
Is
you
it
know,
referenced in the Bible as Easter, or have we named it Easter?
that I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what they call it in the Bible, the
I
birth
don't
and the
think it would
resurrection.
be called
Is it just
Easter.
calls the resurrection, maybe?
It would have said it happened at Passover, but I don't think it would have been called Easter. But that's a guess.
Yeah.
Not certain. We need someone.
You don't
like
hear many
Em.
women called Easter, do you? Like any
So it
girls
can be
named
a name.
Esther.
Esther,
yeah.
yes.
So
Although you typically
A
think of that
spring
as a
baby,
Jewish
you have to
name,
call her
yeah.
Esther.
Yeah.
If I ever have a spring daughter, I'll call her Esther.
I'm sure there's many polyesters around.
Yeah, Polly.
Just Polly's otherwise. Okay, so that concludes another exciting podcast. So thank you very much, V.
Goodbye.
Oh, cheerio.
Sonia.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Teasing you there. Sonia and Phil, thanks for your company today and for answering some of my nonsense questions and humouring me with some of my ignorance. So thank you very much, guys. And we'll speak to you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
The Let's Be Frank podcast is brought to you by the Oasis Partnership, a charity providing high-quality social and psychological support services to improve people's mental health and well-being. We deliver socially inclusive, open-access support for the wider communities of Buckinghamshire through pioneering and innovative partnerships and initiatives. Oasis provides free and subsidised health and well-being classes and support groups for the Chiltern area, including mindfulness, yoga, fitness, art and music. Oasis also helps support people to reach their full potential through our substance misuse treatment service, Routes to Work and outreach service. The Oasis Substance Misuse Treatment Service is provided in partnership with Inclusion, part of Midlands Partnership NHS Foundation Trust, delivering one recovery bucks. The Let's Be Frank podcast was launched in tribute to the memory of long-term Oasis patron and world-renowned cinematographer Frank Hodge and is recorded in the Frank Hodge Podcast Studio, our new community podcasting facility launched in his honour.